everybody. Welcome on in. It's Friday night, my friends, and we're getting back from some what's the name I'm trying to go for some Summer Games Fest stuff. I'm like, I've been watching it for hours now, and I'm like, what is this thing I've been watching for hours? Yeah, I've been watching the Summer Games Fest, which I think is still going on even right now, my friends. Um, but it's a long, long event. Um, it was okay. It was okay. There was a couple of good things, but there was a lot of just kind of it's very, very funny to me to see how trendy these televised events tend to be. And by that I mean, I think it's not that other games in other genres aren't being made at the same time. It's just that they always seem to collect the same themed stuff together, and it's really annoying because, like, what was it last year? Was probably was a lot of RPG stuff, right? Which, there were other games besides RPGs coming out, but it was just a lot of RPG stuff. This year, it's a lot of fighting game stuff. Not that there's anything wrong with that. I mean, it's been a while since fighting game fans have had stuff, but now it's like, here's this brawler, here's this first-person fighter, here's this, thing. It's just a lot of 2D brawlers all at the same time. I'm like, there's definitely more than that coming out, and it seems like they collect all the things together, and then it just feels like the only thing coming out right now are like, FPS shooters or RPGs or battle royale things, or in the case of this year, 2D brawlers. There was a couple. I mean, there were a couple of Metroidvanias in there, but it was like, it's just like it feels. It feels very like they're chasing. It feels like they're amplifying trends. It's not necessarily that the devs are chasing trends. It's that trends that are happening get amplified by these events. Like, it would be really nice if there was a more eclectic, spread of things. And it doesn't help that a lot of the AAAs are all doing the same thing. Like, they're all just sort of, I don't know, they all seem to be making the same types of games at the same times as other things. At least that's this, or at least that's what they're promoting at the same time as other things are being promoted. It's like they're antagonistically promoting, right? It's like, oh, this other publisher is publishing this fighting game, so we have one of those kind of in the works, so we'll just advertise this one. We'll push the advertising on this one to combat that other one. It's like, why? Just stick to the stuff that you are close to being released, and or regardless of what the trend is. It just feels like that a lot of times. A lot of these events feel like it's just trend chasing or trend promoting, and not really getting the full breadth of what's actually going on. But that is my feeling on that. And unfortunately, I think this year around, you know, most other years they can get away with that, or they have gotten away with it. I think this year it made for, a 2 hour event where, like 90 minutes of it was really just kind of no better than just going into Steam and saying, going through your Steam recommendations. I mean, it's basically the quality was basically that. It felt like, not that those games weren't going to be good quality. It's just like they all start to blur together after a while. They all have similar art styles. They all have similar mechanics, and it's just kind of like nothing. Everything is. You expect. I don't know. Maybe my expectations for indie games are off. Like I expect indie games to not be chasing trends. I expect them to be doing their own thing, doing the thing, making the thing that they want to make. And yet it feels like a lot of times they're falling into the same trap that the the AAAs are falling into with some of the stuff. But who knows? It could also just be an absolute 1000% accident. That's just, they just two groups of people end up working on a similar game at the same time. It's just because a lot of times you get inspired by other things that are on at the same time, right? So it's like you play a game and you think, I like this, but I could do better, and then you start that, and you're probably not the only one to do that, and so some of it's that too, I imagine, but yeah, it just kind of felt. I mean, it doesn't help that I'm not really into the brawler games, so there wasn't a whole lot for me there in that. But yeah, it is what it is. Someone else is enjoying that, and that's fine, and that's great. Oh, okay. What do we got going on here? So I think I don't know what that was. It just kicked off, but okay. Oh, it might have been a pop over here or something. Yeah. So we had finished chapter 6 on Saturday. Last Saturday. And started into chapter 7 with image and attachments and stuff like that. And I think I've got all of attachment done here, and then it's saying now like vertex buffer structure has to change. So want to look at that. Yeah, so we did attachment. So then the vertex buffer structure. So what are they saying here change? Add extra components that we'll reuse in the next chapters. We'll add texture coordinates and has color information. Okay, so it looks like just adding texture coordinates stuff. Okay. So where are we at here? So texture coordinate components. Yeah. So they've changed the number of attributes to 2. Alright, and attributes bindings. Binding descriptions, okay. Text input binding description, call one number of attributes. Okay, position. Binding 0, location 1. Wait, location I? Location I. RGB 32 S float and 0 there, okay. Binding descriptions. Okay, so now it's like text recorded. So they got binding here. 0i format. Okay, so that has changed. Okay, so binding. So it's get I++. Y is 0. I++. I don't like that. I is 0. Location I. And then it's 1. Oh, that's VI. So attributes. So it's doing another attributes call here, and then the binding call. So attributes. So that's why they said number of attributes is 2. I don't like doing that. This is just, that's just bad. We're not doing that. We're going to be explicit and say 0. Excuse me. Get 1. Binding 1. Sorry, binding 0. So get 1, binding 0, location. Format's the same as that, and then offset. Okay, then the offset is... Oh wait, the format is different. It's R and G32. R and G32 with no blue. Okay. Let's float. Alright. Right, because it's a 2D texture, not a 3D. Well, I don't know why there wouldn't be a blue component to it, but whatever. So offset is position components times float length. Okay. So basically this. Alright, and then VI. So the bindings. So bindings get 0, binding 0. 0, binding 0. Stride is position. Okay, position components times graph components. Let me see. Position components times graph components or graph constants. Plus texture coordinate components times graph constants float length. Okay. So that is the stride, right? Okay. So plus input rate is vertex input rate vertex. Here, plus should be on a new line. No, doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Okay, and then get info. S type. Input state, create info, bindings and attributes. Okay. So we've got that. And these are super cleanup, bindings, attributes free. Yes. Okay, so that all stays the same. Okay. So I have that for texture stuff. Will be composed by 2 elements, 2 floats. The number of attributes each vertex will now be 2. Right. Don't like the increase. Okay. We need to modify the mesh data class to include texture coordinates, which I think I actually already have on there, but let's see. I don't have it here though. All right. Indices, positions, texture coordinates, indices. And the way we load vertices in Vulkan model needs to also be updated. Vulkan model create vertices buffers. Pure model, is that where we're doing the no, this is the transfer buffers nonsense. So where did I put that at? Vulkan mesh maybe? Yeah. So create vertex buffer. Right? Yeah, create vertex buffer. Position text coordinates. So where is this at? Vulkan model. Let's get over here. So I don't miss anything. Alright, so float texture coordinates, mesh data, text coordinates. Wait. Wait. Create vertex buffer. Oh, it's okay. So they're pulling both positions and texture coordinates now from the mesh data. Okay. So, alright, foot positions. Wait, where are these coming into play at? Oh, I think I just do... Come into play it. Mesh data. Alright, so mesh. Wait, am I not using mesh data here at all? Definitely using it. Model data. Mesh data. Oh, I'm not using Vulkan model data though. I see. I have no usages on Vulkan model data. So what was I doing? I was just wrapping that mesh data thing, which means I have no usages of mesh data either right now. So, if that's the case, just get rid of this so I don't confuse myself anymore. That means this mesh data is not being used. So let's just get rid of it for the moment. Alright. So we have, because I'm just using just mesh here, right? Which is a class that I put in common because it had texture coordinates and stuff like that. Although right now it has a list of floats.
Would all visitors please report to the medic bay for inoculation?
Yeah, I'm surprised. Okay, so it has a list of floats. I'm surprised it doesn't. We just have an array here. What do they do with texture chords? My guess is this will eventually become a list of arrays because you'll have more complicated textures at some point. But right now they're probably just generating a very basic texture that's used on all the sides. So what I'm going to do is mesh data, positions, mesh data. Okay. Alright, so Vulkan mesh. So we'll just say mesh dot get vertices, and then float texture chords would be mesh get texture chords get first. Just do that for the moment and just make sure I only fill in the first item on the list. Okay. So then that takes care of that basically. Alright. If texture coordinates is null or its length is 0, yeah, if texture coordinates equals new float and it's positions length divided by 3 times 2.
shall see the error of your ways when I tell the authorities. Or perhaps we discuss a deal for silence.
Number of elements is positions dot length plus texture coordinates dot length. Right. And buffer size is number of elements times the float length. Yes. Okay. That's the same there. So then, source buffer. Device buffer size. Source destination. Vertex. Visible hosts. Hey, Outlaw, welcome on in. How you doing? Vertex, host, visible, coherence. All that looks like it's probably the same. I'm doing good. I'm doing pretty good. It's been a pretty straightforward week for me. So good stuff. Hope you're feeling better. It's yeah, it's been okay. No complaints. I was watching a bunch of the Summer Games Fest stuff earlier, and some interesting stuff there. Been seeing some demos coming out. Been playing a few things. Played a little bit of Dune last night. And it's okay. You know, watched a few games when I was like, yeah, it was okay. I mean, it's, as I was saying earlier, it like these events tend to inaccurately push trends, I guess. Where it's like this summer Games Fest was like, oh, you want 2D brawlers? We got 2D brawlers out the wazoo, right? You know, it's like, but you know, there's other games being done. It's just they tend to highlight all the same things all at the same time, and it always feels like we're going through these trends constantly when it's not really the case. But so like, and I'm not really a big brawler fan, so about 90 minutes of that 2 hours was like, this is okay. But there were a couple Metroidvanias in there too, which was kind of nice to see. Dune's okay. Dune is it's it really should have been a single player game, I feel like. Or at the very least a self-hosted multiplayer game. I think they tried way too hard to like shoehorn in live service-esque stuff. I mean, they don't have like microtransactions or anything like that, but it's kind of like they have all this server meshing and all this stuff going on, and it's just kind of, you know, oh, you get all these communities could work together. It's like, no, people just want to play with their friends. They don't want to like, they're trying really hard to make this pseudo MMO thing, and it's, nobody really wants an MMO in the Dune universe. I don't feel like. I think people just want to, they just want to play with their small group of friends, and you know, I think they want more Conan Exiles and less, you know, MMO. But it's what they're going for. Um, I mean, it's definitely a sandbox. I wouldn't even call it a survival sandbox because it's pretty easy to survive. It's just a sandbox. Um, it's cool to see like the Dune universe stuff that's being translated to it. You know, the importance of water and all that stuff. Um, but it's also kind of it's doesn't feel very deep. It feels pretty shallow. There's a lot there to do, but it takes forever to do anything, especially when you're solo. And then even then, it's just like it's just kind of very. It feels like Dune Assassin's Creed, only less compelling, I guess. You know, at least Assassin's Creed has some kind of pedigree to it. This one has like, it's okay. I mean, the universe of Dune is really fascinating and awesome, but that's about the only thing I think carrying the game right now. Is that a lot of people just like the Dune universe. Um, there's really nothing else about it that stands out so far. Now, maybe once you get 50 hours into like the end game stuff, maybe that feels better. But right now, it's been just kind of, it is what it is. You know, it's not um, necessarily boring. It's just not really. It's not holding my attention too much. That said, I've seen a lot of streamers that have been putting in like 14, 15, 16-hour streams of the game. So, you know, it is what it is. I still, I tend to feel like, though, that's a lot of just Dune, you know, the love of the Dune universe that's keeping them going more than anything else. But, and it doesn't help that the multiplayer stuff is, it was such a it feels shoehorned in. Like, it doesn't feel like there's any reason to have it there. The way that they have it. Like, you know, if it was a, you know, you fire up a server and just, or you just join over Steam, you know, 4 friends or 5 friends join over Steam or something like that, it would be a different beast. But like, I didn't want to play on the public realms because it's one of those things where every last ounce of space where you could build a building, which is very important in the game, is taken up like immediately. Um, and you're just fighting for just little scraps of land just to do what you want to do. And it just, so I said, like, well, I'm just going to go do a private server, which meant I had to rent a private server for it. The one server provider that they said that there's 3 server providers that support it. The first one on their list, I've been following their Discord. Just earlier today, maybe around noon today, they finally got their servers working. They've been down since the early launch yesterday, all day long. And they did this like really wackadoodle way of setting up the worlds and stuff. Like, it just makes no sense. So I had to switch over to the second one on the list, which was Nitronic or something like that. And they've had, like, their server was blindingly simple. It was just like, fire up the server, you got 3 options, and then that's it. You know, it wasn't none of this like, well, you gotta join this kind of world cluster. You gotta join that world cluster. They just assigned you a world cluster and just said, here's your 3 toggles. Have fun, right? Um, and it's not like the 3 toggles are even that interesting, right? It's like, do you want sandstorms? Yes or no? Do you want to charge um, taxes? Yes or no? And do you want there to be any safe zones? Like, i.e., do you want full PvP or do you want PvE, VP? And that's it. It's like, you know, just and so I fired that up and I've been using that server just because I don't want to deal with like it's so much nicer where you just go right on the server, build wherever you want to build, do whatever you want to do. You don't have to deal with like, you know, all the crap that you have to deal with. Like, because I played like I kept getting flashbacks of what is it? Once Human, was that the other game that was like this? That was like a multiplayer, like an MMO sandbox game. I think it was Once Human was the name of it, which is still around. Um, but like that game was such a shit show. You get in there and you're like, well, I want to build a house, but where the hell am I going to build a house? Every piece of land is taken, and you're shoehorning yourself into a little corner somewhere that nobody wanted. Um, and everywhere you go, you can't see the world around you because it's just blocked by all these garish buildings that people have built and all that stuff, right? It's like just just want a decent. I honestly just wanted a single player game. I wanted a single player Dune game. They could have kept all the same mechanics they have and just made it single player, and I'd be just absolutely happy as hell. Um, but instead they made it this kind of weird, crazy nonsense that, yeah, it's strange. It's really strange. And the server cluster. So you have a server, and then you join a cluster of servers, which they're calling a world. And that world is your server plus other servers. And so in theory, you go into a common area. The sharding kicks in, so you'll see players playing on other servers in the common areas, right? And I think that also is for the PvP area. I think that goes into like the different shards and stuff. And on paper, that sounds really good. In reality, nobody wants that. You know what I mean? Like, in reality, you just want to be on a server with your friends and just enjoying life, right? Who cares if you go into a public area and then you can see other players on other servers? It just doesn't make any damn sense, right? But it is what it is. It is. It's yeah. Once Human was. I got really bored with it right away too, because the grind was just not fun. Like the combat and stuff and the story that they were doing was interesting, but then you grind to a halt really, really quickly. And it was not fun stuff to grind. And I think it's a testament to the fact that like you had all those streamers who played the game for a week and then never came back to it. It's still out there. I think it's still in early access. I don't even think it's been fully released yet. Or maybe it has been fully released by this point, but like nobody's playing it. None of the streamers who played it once before are playing it anymore, right? Because it just got so samey and so boring so quickly, right? And I get the feeling Dune is going to have the same fall off, right? Like everyone's going hard into it now. They're going to get to their end game, whatever it is, and they're just never going to come back to it because there's just too many other things that coming down the pike, you know. So it's really strange. The whole thing is just kind of, it is what it is. I wish it was better, but I feel like some of that's probably marketing and CEOs stepping in and saying we need this, we need that. And I think some of it is ego as well, right? It's a developer going, what if we put all these bells and whistles in? What if players could see other players and in these public realms? And what if we had these areas of procedural content where we can add more stuff to the game immediately and it shows up in the procedural content area and all that stuff? And it's just like, sure, that sounds awesome in your head. That's probably something that the devs really, really, really wanted to write. But it doesn't pass the reality test, right? In reality, that's not how people play games. Right? MMO players are very, very used to just being on servers, and if they want to join their friends, they'll all settle on a server and join that server. Or if they're on a server and they're not on the right instance, they'll just go to the instance drop down and find another instance to jump over to, right? Like it's there was no reason, you know, MMO players are used to that stuff, so there's no reason to do something different for MMO players. For other players who aren't really into MMO, they don't really give a flying hoot about anybody outside of their own little group that they're playing with, right? So why would they give a goddamn if they go into a public area and see other people that they don't know, right? The whole thing just doesn't pass reality. And it's all the time and effort they spent putting all that stuff in place. They could have just gone with the quick and dirty and simple and spent that time on content and stuff like that. I mean, it's like there's probably a good deal of content in the game, but it's so slow at the beginning, and it looks like it's pretty slow even 20-30 hours in, right? Where it's just like you just keep hitting these unnatural roadblocks, and it's just, okay, now I gotta go do this. Now I gotta go do that. Okay, I want to get some more story. Well, I gotta do these 3 things first before I get more story. And, you know, it's just, it's really, they paced it out like you would pace out an MMO. Instead of pacing it out like you would pace out a co-op multiplayer game, they paced it out like an MMO, so everything is just slow, right? And it's just, you know, and there's a lot of good to be had there, but it's also, you know, if that's the only game anyone's playing, if that's the only game a person's playing, then they'll get a ton of fun out of it. But when there's so many other good games just constantly popping up, it's just hard to sit down and deal with a game that doesn't care about your time investment, right? That doesn't treat you with your time investment with any kind of respect. That's the rough part of it. You know, because I've been off camera. I've been playing a bunch of Jump Ship, which is just a demo, and I've been just enjoying the crap out of that game. There's just something about it that I really enjoy. It's hard as nails when you're trying to do it solo, but it's like, it's just really fun. And plus I got, you know, all these other games that I'm really enjoying. It's just never ending. You know? And I feel like the problem with Dune is that I feel like I need to get my time in on that sooner rather than later, because I don't think it's going to have a whole lot of longevity. And that game is another one of those, stop killing games things, right? Where at some point, the game is completely dependent on server architecture. And as soon as it stops drawing people in, they're going to shut all that down, and then you've got a $80 brick, right? At that point, a game you can't play at all. It's really, really annoying all around, right? Because it could very well be something where maybe I would enjoy it better if I had cleared some of the other stuff off my list, some of the other games I've been playing off my list. But I feel like I need to get my kicks in now because, in 3 months' time, it might be shutting down. It doesn't feel like it has the longevity that the devs think it's going to have. Despite getting, strong sales and everything else, strong sales don't mean anything when it comes to MMOs, because it's all about keeping asses in seats and eyes on the prize, right? And if everyone, like once human is found out, if everyone moves on, your game is not playable anymore because there's nobody there to push the to push the content forward, right? You're so dependent on other players. If you don't have any other players, why would anyone hang around? Yeah, exactly. And I mean, they've already got the season pass going and all that stuff. Just like every other game, like every freaking game's got season passes. You don't even know. Season passes piss me off because you don't even know if the game is going to be financially a success, and you're already banking on seasonal content right out of the gate. It's like you have no idea if this game's even going to be, have any players in 2 months for your season 2 to start. It's just... In the meantime, Splitgate 2 I think just went 1.0. They just can't, I was playing the beta for that, and I think they today just went 1.0, and they just introduced all kinds of other game modes now. Like they've got a battle royale mode now. They got all kinds of stuff in that one, and I want to play. I want to play some more of that game, but I'm also worried now because they introduced a battle royale thing. So now we're going to get a ton of sweaty people showing up on the doorstep there playing the game. And now I'm never going to be able to to win anything. Or worse yet, the mode that I want to play, no one else wants to play. So that'll be a thing. I mean, it's rare for me to want to play a multiplayer shooter. And it's usually the only ones I want to play are ones that have low populations, because then you've got people who are more casual, usually. And also, you're more likely to get some bots, so you can just kind of ruffle stomp some bots. But if I'm concerned that this is it's gonna turn into because they have a battle royale mode, it's gonna turn into like an Apex Legends or something where you just can't. it's just not possible as a casual person to just go in and play any matches, right? You just, it was like me trying to play Tarkov. Like I would, as soon as I'd spawn into a map, I was dead, like within 3 to 4 minutes. And occasionally I would spawn into a map and there would be like 10 minutes left and everyone's left already. And then I couldn't find the exit, to get out of the map. So, that was just a freaking nightmare. Although apparently, I mean, Arc Raiders is coming, which is basically the newer iteration of Tarkov, is coming October 30th. That was announced. So maybe I'll try that out. I don't know. I don't know. Because again, it's one of those things where I'm not big on multiplayer stuff to begin with, and when I do multiplayer stuff, I just want multiplayer games that have a more casual crowd to them, because that's the only time I can actually enjoy them. When everyone's just having fun and not trying to, get likes on social media for some wicked play or whatever. Yeah. But then again, I do tend to be the old man yelling at the clouds too, so there you go. That tends to be my thing too. Texture coordinates, buffer size. So where are these? Where are these coming into play here? That's not the way I want to go. Walking buffer. The old man as well. We'll meet meet on the weekends. Yeah. Yeah, it's just one of those things, man. It's one of those things. And now they're doing all these games that are freaking co-op necessary, right? Or like two-player co-op is a requirement. So like you had Split Fiction was the last one, and now there's another one that just got announced for actually a couple of them. One was a Lego one, and then there was another one that was a more of a cartoony thing that I can't remember the name of. So those are games that I'm just completely shut out of. I mean, the only thing I could do is just watch somebody else play them, because I can't play them myself, unless one of these days I'm just gonna put these freaking, pull out some of my old AI programming books and just make an AI second player that can just play these games with me. As the ultimate snub to the devs. It's like, oh, you thought you were going to be clever and keep all of us single players out of the picture, huh? Well, let's see how clever you really are. So we're mapping some mapped memory and flip buffer data. Yeah, okay. Okay. And float data. Oh, I see. Now it's putting both the positions and the texture coordinates into the data. So rows is positions.length divided by 3. Okay, so instead of just this, it's int rows is positions.length divided by 3. For each row, start position, start texture coordinate. Okay. Right. Start position is row times 3. Start texture coordinates. Times 2. And we're just putting 3 positions in there and then positions dot length divided by 3. Okay. Row times 3. Row times 2. I see what they're doing. I feel like there's a I like. I guess it is what it is. Like, I feel like they could put a data structure there that would have the positions and the texture coordinates instead of just throwing them into an array and just pulling them back out of the array. But I guess yeah, no, XYZ. Yeah, why wouldn't you just do Like they have a vector 3 and a vector 2, a vector 3D and a vector 2D thing where you could just put your X, Y, and Z there and then. I don't know. It's a little. This there's a little bit of laziness here and a little bit of just copying from a C program in here. I feel like because they're not utilizing data structures well here. They're just kind of they just tossed everything. It's such a C programmer way of thinking of things. Just toss everything into an array and call it a day, and we'll just pull it back out later. It's like
keeps getting better.
if you just model the data a little bit, you'll make your life so much easier later on. So this takes float buffer. Positions. Start position. I wonder if there's a thing. Is there a variant on? So there's put float. I mean, even if you did just a like I had with the texture coordinates here, just do a list of float arrays. Like that would you wouldn't need all this nonsense here. You could just loop over it and say, put all these, just put all these in there. You know, it's just very strange. This one, this two. Oops. Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know you could do that. So, Control Alt down copies the line to the next line? I didn't know you could do that. Well, that's helpful. I did that completely by accident. Yeah, okay. Texture chords, positions, and then that's that. Okay, so I can get rid of that. And is that the only other, is that the only change we make there? Yeah, looks like it. All right, modifying the render path. In order to properly render 3D models, we need to store Depth information, we need to output that depth data while rendering to an image that will hold depth values. So allow the GPU to perform depth testing operations. This means that we need to add another output attachment to the render pass that we're using. We need to modify the swap chain render pass as shown below. Okay, swap chain render pass. So this guy. So where are they at? Looks like they're in the constructor. Color attachment, depth. So depth attachment has a change. Couple changes there under depth. Okay, so let's go look at their actual code. So attachments.get format swap chain get surface format image format. Okay. And then color reference is okay, so between color reference and that we do this additional attachment. And this is now 2, which it might have been before. Let me see. Nope, that was 1 before. See, they didn't have that in there right up there. This is why you gotta look at their actual code that they did. 2 stack. So then attachments. So we're putting a depth attachment. So I'm going to copy this. So I'm imagining it's very similar. So I want this to be number 1 in there. So the second one. Depth image format. Oh, it takes a new int depth image format. Alright, so format is... I wonder if I can just add that to surface formats. That comes from Vulkan's swap change. I get, no, maybe not. Okay. Depth image format. Okay. Samples is VK sample count 1 bit. Load up, we got a VK attachment load up clear. Yeah. Store up is store up don't care. Oh, so store up, store to store up. Don't care. Initial layout is image layout undefined. Yes. Final layout is VK image layout present src cage R. VK image layout. Oop. Depth stencil attachment optimal. Alright, so image layout. This is actually some other thing, right? VK14, VK image layout depth stencil attachment optimal. VK image layout depth stencil attachment optimal. VK image layout depth stencil attachment optimal. Yep, okay. Then we have the color reference, and then we need a depth reference after that. So color reference is attachment, so capacity 1, attachment value is 0. Yeah. Layout is that, and then this is attachment 1. So copy that. Paste that. Do depth reference. So this is attachment 1. So we got what? Capacity 1. Oh, it's just doing a malloc on the stack without the 1 there. Okay. It's doing a malloc and not a calloc. Okay. Attachment 1. Layout VK image layout depth stencil attachment optimal. Image layout. Stencil attachment optimal. What's going on here? VK attachment reference. Oh, I have it as a buffer there. Yeah, look at that. This one takes the buffer, this one takes just the attachment reference, but it is doing calloc versus malloc, so I think I get what's going on there. There we go. So that's the depth reference. The subpass dependencies. So wait, the subpass gets depth stencil attachment now with the depth reference. So we do P depth stencil attachment depth reference and subpass dependencies, subpass external, get 0, 1 stack, subpass 0, stage attachment. Oh, and we've got an additional mask here. VK pipeline stage early fragment test bit. VK pipeline stage early fragment test bit. VK stage or pipeline stage early fragment test bit. VK pipeline stage early fragment test bit. VK pipeline stage early fragment test bit. God damn. God damn, they love their freaking paragraph long constants. I mean, I get it. I appreciate it. But at the same time, god damn. Source access mask is 0. Destination access mask also has the VK access depth stencil attachment right bit. Okay, so or with VK 14 VK access depth stencil attachment right bit. Stencil attachment right bit. Yes. Okay. And then render pass info is looks like it's probably the same. Subpasses and dependencies, attachments. Yeah, it's probably the same. Alright, and then Yeah, that just creates the render pass. It does everything to do the create render pass. That looks like it's the same. Destroy render pass. It's probably all the same. Okay. So I've added that. Constructor receives now the format of the image. Format of the attachment is the format of the depth image. We're not using multi-sampling, we just pass the VK sample count 1 bit. Value used for load up is the same as the color attachment. Store up is different. In this case, in the case of color attachment, it need to be preserved to present the contents of the screen. We are not going to use the contents of the depth buffer for anything other than the render pass after the render pass finishes. So it needs to be preserved. Present the contents of the screen. In this case, we can use VK attachment store up. Don't care to tell GPU that the contents may be discarded. Okay. Depth attachment. Alright. Scene changes. If we're gonna represent 3D scenes, we need to project from the 3D world into a 2D space, the screen. We'll need to use a perspective projection matrix in order to avoid distortions and to represent faraway objects smaller than closer ones. We will create a new class that supports creation and updates. Named projection. Okay. So this is a new class. Somewhere here. Probably under scene, I bet. Yep. Here we go. Projection matrix. Yeah, it's pretty straightforward. Getting the field of view. So they're reading a lot of stuff from a properties file. I'm just going to hard code those for now. Z near, Z far. Yeah, what did they set their field of view in Z near, Z far to? 100 for far, 1 for near. Field of view of 60. Oof. Oof. No, thank you. Okay, we're going to do 90 on that. So 100 for the far and 1 for the near. Okay. Oof. Oofa. Alright. I need to stand up and stretch my legs. I took my compression socks off because I went for a walk and then I got back from my walk and I was like, and I don't wear them during the walk because they're just too hot. I got back from the walk and I'm like, you know what? I just want my legs to cool down and get out in the open. So I didn't put my compression socks back on, but now I've been sitting for a little bit. I can feel my legs blowing up a little bit. So I'm gonna stand up and walk around for a minute or two here and stretch my legs and get all the blood flowing and everything. And I'll be right back. Hang tight, friends. Enjoy the music.
Will the parents of the Argon girl by the name of Susie please pick her up at the casino? Thank you.
Okay, I'm back. Speaking of compression socks, I just remembered when I stood up, I was like, oh yeah, I put those in the wash hour or so ago. I should probably move those into the dryer, so I did that. So nothing if not multitasking. Let's say put that way. I've mentioned it before, but that's like one of the biggest advantages to working from home all the time is just like getting something just as simple as like getting all of your laundry done prior to the weekend just introduces a quality of life that I wish everyone could partake in. Right? Like there's two things I manage to do during the week usually. Grocery shopping, which basically I do online and then I just go pick it up at lunchtime. and then and laundry. And it's like those two things used to they don't if you stay on top of them, they don't consume that much time of your weekend, but they still consume time of your weekend that you would rather be doing other things, tackling other things. And having that done and not having to deal with it and being able to use that time for other things on the weekend is just, boy, does it make such a difference sometimes, you know? It's like, I wish everyone could partake of that, because it's just like, sometimes it's just the really small things that just make a huge mental difference when you're doing things, you know? Because I mean, prior to 2020, I was going into the office and everything else, and I know what it was like. And it's worse when you're, in many ways when there's nobody home at all, right? Because it's like you go out, you go to work, you come back, and like nothing is done because there's been nobody there to do anything, and so everything just has to get accomplished at some point, you know. And that's just it's a thing. it's a real thing. Like, after a while you just get so annoyed by it all, because you're not like, your weekend is not really yours anymore, right? Because you're always, it always feels like you're behind. You're behind on the cleaning of the house, or you're behind on the your normal chores all the time. You can never, like, it never feels like you can get ahead of them, because sure, you can come home during the week and, like, at nighttime throw some laundry in and all that stuff, but like it's not sustainable, right? Because there's just times you come home, you're just like, you can barely function enough to to get dinner and make it to the couch. You know? And granted, I'm not doing anything physically arduous. But just even mentally, it's just like, mentally in some ways is even a little bit worse than physical. Not, I mean, in a few distinct ways, where physical, yes, you make it to the couch, you sit down, you just kind of, you don't want to do anything because you just need to rest. Mentally, it's a little bit worse at times, because it's like you're in the same boat where you just don't want to do anything because your brain has just shut down, right? So not only do you not want to do anything, you have no motivation to do anything. Whereas at least if you're just physically tired, maybe you'll, rest up for like a half an hour or something, and then you'll still maybe gather enough strength to do maybe something. When you're mentally out, you're just like, before you know it, it's 11 p.m. and you don't know where any of that time went in the intervening hours. It's like when you there's some kind of psychological word, phrase for it, but it's like when you walk into a room, it's something like every time you walk through a doorway, there's a good possibility you forget why you've entered the room. And it's like, I think I think I read somewhere, I could be misconstruing this, but I think I read somewhere that people with open floor plans in their house where they don't have so many doorways to walk through have less problems remembering why they entered a room than people who have more closed floor plans where they have to walk through just door frames, even if it's just a door frame without even a door, just like an archway or something. Like even that, it's like there's something about the compartmentalization of every room. Whereas if it's just an open floor plan, it's just like you can maintain your concentration better or something. It's I mean, that could be all like quackery that I've read. Who knows at that point? I mean, the internet's not exactly the most reliable source for things, but it certainly tracks with my life anyway. And I got it like my house is a I think it was built in the 50s. So it's got narrow hallways, it's got doorways galore, it's got archways, it's got everything is almost like a modular, like it's like they took modular components and just snapped them together. I just didn't bother to like change the walls or anything. So like just me, for instance, I'm in my office right now. If I wanted to go to the kitchen, I would walk through, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 archways. four doorways, really, to get from here to the kitchen. And I say it's technically 4 because there is a little bit of a separation between the kitchen and the like I've got like a divided hallway kind of thing going. So I guess it's no wonder that so many times I walk in there and I'm like, why did I make this trip again? What am I doing? Who am I? All right, so projection. Something I'm apparently doing a lot of right now. Where do I want to put this? I guess it makes sense to put it under scene for right now. Or I guess it's the projection is part of the rendering, right? Yeah, I guess we'll just throw it under render for the moment. And see we'll figure out where it fits better later on. So what we got here? Matrix 4F projection matrix. And the constructor's just setting it to new, so I'm just going to do right there, and then we don't need the freaking constructor. We got a getter on it, and then we just have a resize width and height. So let's do the resize. Public, was it returning? Void, okay. Okay. projection matrix identity, and then perspective. So we got field of view, z near, z far. So let me put those up here. Private, static, final, float, equals 90.0f. Private, static, final, float, z near is 1.0f. Whoops. Static final float z far is 100. Oops. LF. Alright. Projection matrix identity project. Right? Or no, identity perspective. Perspective, and we want field of view width divided by height. Okay. V width divided by height. Near, far, and then true. There we go. Do the getter for that, and we're good there. Okay, that was straightforward enough. Using Jomol to do the matrix 4F. Yep. The projection method receives view arguments. The field of view in radians. The aspect ratio, and the near and far planes. So the aspect ratio was the width divided by the height. That's why we did that. Okay. So that would be, for most purposes, that would be I'm drawing a blank on it. It's not 5 by 9. It's damn it. I'll just do calc. Let's do 25. Oops, where are we at here? 25, 60. What the hell? Oh, it's not registering. Numlock. Here we go. No. Hello. Do you not like numlock? What is wrong with you? 25, 60 divided by 1440 is 1.7. So it's I forget the I have to look it up now. 1440p aspect ratio. 16 by 9. That's what it is. Yeah, because old games for CRT monitors were 16 by 10. And 16 by 9 is now what most things are. You may have noticed that it receives an extra argument, which is called 0 to 1. I've already talked about that Vulkan uses a different coordinate system where y-axis points downwards. It also defines a different range for z-coordinates. The normalized device coordinates in OpenGL use the range of -1 to +1 to represent screen coordinates, and so for the z value. Anything outside that range is considered to be out of the field of view and will not be presented. In Vulkan and also in Direct3D, the NDC range is 0 to 1. So you need to set the 0 to 1 parameter to true to be compliant with the Vulkan coordinate system. It's interesting. That's interesting. It is interesting that is different that way from OpenGL to Vulkan and Direct3D. So Vulkan and Direct3D normalize the z coordinates to be between 0 and 1, and OpenGL does between -1 and 1. Which, honestly, I have to lean more towards Direct3D and Vulkan on this one. 0 to 1 seems more sensible there, but I can also see that OpenGL probably wanted to have extra range to be able to have stuff, I don't know, I guess have stuff pop out of the other, or have stuff flip invert. I don't even know. I'm not sure. Alright, that's their engine properties thing. We're also going to introduce a new concept for the engine and allow it to define game entities and use the same model to render multiple elements. Instead of directly rendering models, we'll have entities which have some properties such as their scale, position, and rotation, and will be associated to a model. They could model a player, NPCs, scene objects, and will be managed by a class named entity, which is defined like this. Okay.
Founded by Kyle Brennan and Elena Coe,
So entity. So this is basically, I feel like I have that sort of, but maybe not this blatant. So it's under common. Yeah, see, I have an entity under common where I've got a ID and a model, and then the model has meshes, materials. Okay, so then what else do they have under entity? So they've got model matrix, position, rotation. So I don't have that under model, right? The model matrix. No, this is just like the things that make up the model. Okay, so that's fine. So we have the model, we have the ID, and we have the model. Do I have a string for the model ID? I do. Okay, so I don't need to replicate that. So model matrix, position, rotation, scale. Let's look at this over here. Yeah, model matrix, position, rotation, scale. Private. Vector 3F position and quaternion float rotation. Okay. Rotation? Yes. Private float scale. Okay. So entity ID, model ID, and position. Oops. Just gotta make this slip that there. Screw that. Rotation model matrix. Okay. Oops. That's not what I want. Okay, and then pull update model matrix, which I'll need to do here in a second. So a bunch of getters. Reset rotation. Okay. So do rotation. Isn't there like a just make sure there's nothing I can just do. Oh, here we go. Rotation dot set XYZW. 0, 0, 0, 1. Right, is what they want. 0, 0, 0, 1. Does not take floats. Yeah, they do. Comma is not followed by wait. Oh. Okay. Alright, and then set position XYZ. Is it, are they ints? No, they're floats. Yeah, of course they are. X, float, Y. Go. I got to update the model matrix there too, and then Set scale. It's just a regular setter. Okay, update model matrix. Public void. Update model matrix. Translation, rotate, scale. Okay, model matrix. So, position, rotation, scale. Rotation, scale. Alright, so update model matrix there. Reset rotation had an update model matrix, right? No, reset doesn't have it. Just set position, set scale. And the initial create. Set position, set scale, and the initial create. And then I'll do a setter for scale here, and then update model matrix. There we go. All right. If only it all was this straightforward. Okay, so that's entity. Each entity will have an identifier which should be unique. It's linked to the model. We'll use to render it through the model ID attribute. Entity will also have a position, a rotation, and a scale. You're able to construct a model matrix by calling update model matrix. We can now set the required infrastructure to put the projection entity classes into work. Add this to an empty class, which has been there since the beginning, the scene class. This class definition starts like this. Okay. So do everything in the scene class, basically, is what they're saying here. Here, and so you have entities map, so by their IDs, I guess. Entity get ID. Model ID. Oh, no, I see what they're doing. They're putting the model ID there for the entity. Set the model ID. Set the model is get entities by model ID.
If anyone has trouble flushing, you'll have to go below deck and reboot the system. They best remember to put the seat down.
Yeah, so I mean, you can have multiple copies of the same entity, or multiple copies of the same model, but different entities for that model. Wait, no. Model ID. You'd have one copy of the model, but multiple entities that employ that model. So that way you're saving memory there, which makes sense. So the way I have it, where I'm just pushing the model into there, is not really ideal. It should just be the model ID. Um, so I guess we'll do that. Model ID. Okay. So then, so what are we doing here? Scene is, so we're adding entities to the scene. Entity has an ID, right? Has an ID and a model ID, yeah. To add entity to the scene with that particular model ID. Okay, entities by model ID. Yeah, okay. So they're passing window into scene, which I don't think I'm doing. Oh, this is another thing. They're passing this whole big window object in there, and then all they're using is the width and the height. So it's like just freaking pass. Just take the width and the height. You know what I mean? And then that way it doesn't matter where the width and the height comes from. It can come from any object at all. It can come from no object at all. Just like, you know, why tie these things? Why hard tie these things together when you're not using it for anything? So scene here. Vulcan scene. Yeah, I'm not. So we don't need, because the only time they use it, they don't even store the width and the height. They just use it for the one thing, and that's it. So I'm getting rid of that altogether. I'm just going to say int width, int height. All right. So we have entities map. And a reference to the projection. So private, oops. Private map string lists entity. Uh-oh, which one is it? It's got dreams. I think it's common model. Yeah, entity. Entity map. map, and then private road Vulcan projection. And that just equals new projection. Entities map is new hash map. Okay. So then here we just do projection resize, window get width, window get height, or in our case, resize width, height. Done and done. Add entity. So we're just adding it to the map, right? We're adding it to the list if it existed. Okay. And there's a much easier way. Well, there's a much more straightforward way to do that now. So what we can do is say entity map dot get or default entity dot get model ID. Default value will be new array list there. And then what are we doing? And then we're just adding this entity. Yeah, they really did a weird job of it there, but okay. Sure. So this is going to be a list entity. TIS. Entities. Use dot add entity and then entity map put ID entities. All right, so we did it in basically 3 lines. Get entities by model ID. Alright, so string model ID. So return entity map dot get or default model ID. This is an unmodifiable list though, right? I don't think I want to do it unmodified. Let's just give it a new list. Yeah, maybe I should do it on modifiable lists so that I don't accidentally try to use that. As something, as a way of putting stuff back in there. Although it doesn't actually hurt anything to put stuff in there, right? Because I'll be changing the memory reference, which in turn would be well, yeah, you kind of don't even need the add entity, right? You could just say get entities by model ID and have it return a new array list. And then just add to that array list whatever entity you wanted to add. Yeah, like I could just do... Well, no. No, you wouldn't be able to do... I mean, you could add to that list, but then it's not added to the entity map. Yeah, so no, this is right, because you want it to be... Yeah, no, this is more correct. You definitely want to do the add entity, because you want it to add it back to the map, which you wouldn't be doing the other way. You would just be adding it to a list that's just hanging out in memory somewhere, and not where you need it to be. Okay. Remove all entities, and then remove entity. Okay. Okay, so public void move all entities. Public void remove entity. What are we doing there? Okay. So we'll say entity map compute if present. Is that what I want to do? Remapping function. I don't think I want to remap anything. Let me just say, if entity map contains key, entity.get model ID. Remove if. So what did they do here? We got the list of entities. Okay. List entity. Not equal, no. Move if. Is, entity dot get ID. Okay. And we just need a getter on the projection and a getter on the entity map too, I guess. So why not? Insert getter, both of those. There we go. Okay, so that's our Vulcan scene. So what else do we have here? Enable depth testing on the pipeline. All right. So we have pipeline stuff. And then passing, so more pipeline stuff in order to pass data to the shaders. And then we have to wire it all up to the render. Forward render activity. Of stuff in forward render activity, and then we just have to add the texture coordinates initialization for a test thing. Actually, all these coordinates are different now, right? Because we're doing a cube instead of a triangle. So do that, and then we want the cube to spin, so we use the update method that will be invoked periodically to update that angle. Okay, and so the update, so the cube will spin on its own. And then we have to change the shaders a little bit to have the texture coordinates and stuff. And then we'll have a cube similar to that. Okay, that's not... It looks like our biggest jump here next is getting all these changes to the forward render activity thing, which looks like there's a lot of little spots here. Throughout that class, and then we have to change render, and we have to change pipeline here, but it looks like there's a couple spots in pipeline that have to change as well. All right, cool. I think we'll save that for tomorrow. It's getting a little late, and I'm getting a little tired, so I'm just gonna save that here. We're not gonna commit right now because I think there's probably still an error maybe along the way, since we've changed some things around. But yeah, this is good. I'm feeling better about this chapter than I did the previous, because like I said the last time around, it feels like we've gotten most of the foundation in place now. So now it's like things are going, like smaller changes are making bigger differences now. Like, we're not, things are coming together a little bit quicker, which is nice to see, and I'm happy to see that. Quite frankly, very happy to see that. We still have all the OpenGL stuff too. I still want to use the OpenGL. I still want to have like an OpenGL engine there too, and kind of like learn both. But I also, I think Vulkan's going to be like the primary engine that I work on, at least initially. Because it requires so much more finagling to get even small stuff done. It requires a lot more time than, because the OpenGL stuff, like, it feels like all the time I'll spend getting it to work in Vulkan, I'll spend probably a fraction of that time getting it to work in OpenGL, and so I'm not as concerned there. I think we can tie those in a little bit better. The only thing with OpenGL is I got to find I had another book reference that we were using at some point. I have to make sure I still have the I still have the link to that, so we can reference that as well to get to more complicated examples and stuff. But yeah, that'll do it. That'll do it for tonight, I think, friends. If you happen to run across this on the YouTubes and you have a like and or a subscribe that you can spare and maybe toss my way, that would be great and awesome and much appreciated, and I'd be very thankful for that. Otherwise, I'll be back tomorrow afternoon-ish, doing some more coding here. We'll pick up where I've left off here, because I think we're on a roll, and this will be good. And if I'm up to it, we'll do a second stream on Saturday as well, tomorrow as well, where I just play some random game, whatever I feel like playing. And then probably jump into Defiance, I think. And then Sunday, I might either do more Defiance, or I might do some more Planet Crafter, I think, because I'm itching to get to do some more Planet Crafter stuff. So make some more progress there. So we'll see where we go, where we end up with that. And then next week is going to be I think the entire week next week is going to be just demos because I think the Steam Next Fest is kicking off, either has already kicked off or is going to kick off on Monday. I don't remember. But yeah, there's a ton of demos probably to look through, and I'm going to start doing some research on that and see where we can go with that. And yeah, it'll probably be a week of demos maybe. If I run out of stuff, well, we got plenty of other things to jump back to. So that's where I'm at with that. Anyway, thank you so much, everyone, for watching. I hope everyone has an excellent morning, afternoon, or evening, depending on what it is for you. And I hope to see you back here again in the future for some more stuff, whatever happens to suit your fancy. Until then, see you, bye.
To a man who has "Welcome Aboard" tattooed on his penis.